In the last episode of Isla Napali, we managed to finally finish this little information kiosk over here, and also we spent a little bit of a look at the go-kart track. So the first little bits and pieces of the go-kart track have been installed, and afterwards we jumped over and started finally to build Kids Coaster that is yet to be themed and yet to be located into this little area of the park. But now, enjoy the next episode of Isla Napali. Hey there everybody and welcome back to Isla Napali. Welcome back to another episode on the beautiful island somewhere located between the Hawaiian Islands. And in this episode we are going to finally start and theme this little kids area. This footage is taken right from the stream that happened on Friday, and here's the good news: tomorrow evening on Monday there will be another stream going on with the build over here. So I think we are going to start about somewhat around 8-ish p.m. Central European time. So other people would call it Camel European time. So this is very important for you to know. This is where I'm going to have the stream, but that's the first information. Second information is, if you haven't checked this out yet, I really highly recommend checking out Architect, which I released yesterday, a new episode. Also need some of your feedback over there. Also, you can win a random game key in this episode as well, so make sure to drop down a comment down below beneath the video of the Architect video that has been released yesterday, and you are already in the raffle. Same, by the way, for this video over here. So I decided after Friday's video that I'm gonna use this video again to give you the chance to be in the raffle. So to make it short, either way you're gonna comment on this video or the video of Architect that has been published yesterday. You are in a raffle to win 1 out of 2 random game keys. And I always, I'd like to remind you that these are really random. They can be good, they can be bad. I get them through a little bit of a program that, some days offers me some keys to give away. And, since I'm not that big of a channel, these keys are basically not the most awesome ones quite yet. They're gonna be better in the future, I hope, depending a little bit on how the channel develops. But this is how it works, and so I can't guarantee any kind of key. But, I think it's just a little bit of a reward for you guys. And some of the games I get there sometimes are pretty nice, actually. I had a funny one lately that was called Suicide Guy. I can really highly recommend to check this out. It's very cheap at in the workshop at the moment, or in the Steam shop, and it's quite a fun game, to be honest. Nothing to stream, nothing to really make videos out of it, but it's kind of a funny game. Anyways, there's one topic I need to talk about before we go into what I'm building in the background, and this is the go-kart track. I've received a whole bunch of feedback of you guys, from you guys, about the go-kart track, and we're gonna tackle this after this build over here. So maybe in the next, or even the next episode, we're gonna go into the go-kart tracks, because there was so much great feedback that I am really willing to give you guys the appearance on screen, so to say, with your opinions and your mentionings over there. A lot of good stuff that I really wanted to talk about either way, since I'm really into go-karting in general, but there were really good hints and suggestions over there that can be used pretty nicely over there. So yeah, thanks a bunch for this. I haven't overseen them or haven't ignored them. I pretty much noted them all down, and just to let you know. But here you see a new version of my coaster fence tool, as I like to call it, because I love to abuse the coaster builder as a little bit of a fencing tool. You can pretty much always use it the way I just did it in this video. Just take whatever coaster you want, rotate it 90 degrees, and just use it as a kind of fencing tool. I found that this is really good in saving you a bunch of pieces for once, but also it makes using fences in a little bit more tricky areas in terms of terrain work a lot more easy. So as soon as you have a little bit more of hilly or tilted path interactions with the terrain, it's always a bit tricky to use the pieces and to make them really align properly and make them look seamless. That's pretty much impossible even. But with the coaster tool you can always use the without angled snap function to make it really free and nicely flowing alongside the path, and I think it always adds a little bit more of realism in terms of fencing, and you can recolor it pretty easily. You don't need to recolor each and every single thing. You only need to, select the coaster, and you can just recolor it. And the cool thing is, it does work with the coaster track itself. You can also just use the if you can use the optional catwalk, you can also use the fencing of the catwalk. You only need to tilt the coaster a tiny bit so that the catwalk can stick out of the ground while the coaster is underground. And I always found this to be a nice way to use it as a fence. It is not mine, it's not my idea originally. I've seen this years ago, honestly, years ago, like at the beginning of Planet Coaster. Someone, I don't know if it was on Reddit or where it was, but I found this, and I kind of tried to find my own way to use it, and I have now. So this is why and how and whatever, how I use the coaster track as a fencing tool. But yeah, we are now going into the build of the station building of this little kiddie coaster, and I'm also very thankful that you guys gave me so much feedback on my questions about what this coaster could be. And I just read a little story just a few minutes ago. I'm gonna read that out because I feel like this is the best story we have yet about this area. And let me just quickly see if I can find this. Just see. There we go. It's the story is written down by someone boss, and someone boss has a wonderful Bugs Bunny avatar. Just mentioning, by the way, in case you want to just skip through the comments and look for it. Look for the one with the rabbit in his profile picture. But yeah, so let's gonna read this out because it really, I think that's pretty much of a good story we can use over here. Thought on what the kids coaster could be. Back before the park was built, the coaster was used as a traveling coaster as part of a traveling fair. After a while, the fair closed, and the owner of Isla Napali bought the used coaster as a relatively inexpensive first coaster to get the park off the ground. Gosh, my reading is awful today. The coaster was already used, and as the park established, it became my display just went off. An eyesore with its paint chipping. Instead of trying to resell the coaster, an executive decision was made to try and refurbish the parts of the temporary coaster. Using the original track, new permanent supports, and a new paint job, the refurbished coaster was built to coat at its current location today. The new Franken coaster is a simple and budget-friendly ride that has stood the test of time. I love this. It's seriously a great idea. It's simple. It's not, it's not, so to say, overwritten or overtold or whatsoever, so that it doesn't really feel too constructed or whatever. It really feels realistic. It feels like it could really be that way, and I am super happy that you always come up with these nice stories. There's just one little problem I have at the moment, to be honest. I really need to note down all these stories before I forget them. I mean, I'm pretty much into Isla Napali by the time now, but to make sure that we don't miss out on details, I was thinking that I may be creating a section in my Discord channel where we can note down each and every section of the park, and we can construct the story together, and I can always pin the document so you guys can work together in the document if you want. So I don't know, I found this could be a cool idea. So this is especially for my Discord users, so let me know if you think that's a great idea. So I'm going to make a Word doc or whatever, or an online document, so you guys can just jump in and take part in the construction of the Isla Napali story. I think that's a good idea. But anyways, let's talk about this building over here. So as you can see, I'm moving out the camera quite a bit and quite often to check how the sidelines of this coaster appear in the overall picture of Isla Napali. And as you can see, I'm trying to move down the roof a few times until I found a height that I really was happy with. I wanted to maintain this a little bit of a realistic height, not make it too big and too tall, but yet make it look nice and steady. But I didn't want to make it like a complete closed building. I really wanted to keep that as open as possible. And there's one thing I really want to talk about, which is the fact that this coaster doesn't really have a switch track. I simply couldn't make the switch track go in here. It's just a matter of space, and I feel like there are quite a few coasters out there that don't really have a switch track. But now there is me again, not being a coaster nerd. I'm getting more and more of an enthusiast, but I'm not a nerd. So is it possible that way to have like a coaster that has no switch track? And where would the coaster trains then be stored? Would they be stored on the brake run or in the station? Or how would that actually be done for the nights and stuff? So if you guys out there have some infos on that, that would be awesome to tell me, because I'm a bit lost here. Don't really know how exactly this works. But yeah, that's the first thing about the coaster. And the second thing is that a lot of you mentioned that usually these kids coasters feature trains that are longer than the ones I use in here. And even though I'm fully aware of the fact, I needed to really try and do it a little bit differently over here, since Planet Coasters, Kids Coaster have the problem, or in general the coaster have the problem, that they can only be as long as the coaster station is. And since the station building in Planet Coaster is already pretty huge, and the bases, I always like to cover it up because it looks kind of ugly, but it really is a big one, and I couldn't really squeeze in another brake run if I would have enlarged the coaster station even further. So my idea was to make it shorter in case of making it all look a lot more realistic, but yet there is the problem that you can't really make the train longer, and this is why I went for the more realistic look of the entire area rather than going for the realistic length of the coaster train, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, it's a bit of a pity, since I couldn't really go for the full realistic package here, but at least you couldn't, there is the point that it is realistic that this has, shorter trains. I mean, there's nothing, it's not unrealistic to have them, even though it's not common. It would work the way it is, so I think I went for the one that is at least realistic. Anyhow, so we are again on the end of this episode, so here's the reminder again: if you haven't watched the Parkitect video of yesterday, please make sure to jump over and watch it, and yeah, make sure to leave a comment down below to be in the raffle for a random game key, and also make sure to jump in for tomorrow's live stream again around 8ish p.m. Central European time. And yeah, until then, I wish you a wonderful Sunday or a happy Monday. I don't know when you're watching this, but yeah. See you then and have a great time. Bye bye.
Would you be hiding out wherever we may